Hello, I'm Cecilia, and the claim I am that I'm responding to is Planned Parenthood has a positive effect on communities in the United States. My refutation claim is Planned Parenthood does have a positive effect on communities in the U.S. However, the speaker's argument failed to properly support the claim with adequate evidence. Her second claims were Planned Parenthood provides sex education to society, Planned Parenthood can decrease the percentage of teen pregnancy, and Planned Parenthood can lower the spread of STDs. On her first secondary claim, Planned Parenthood provides sex education to society. Her evidence to support the secondary claim is quite adequate as she states what Planned Parenthood has done to help the community. However, she only stated that they educated 1.5 million people, but failed to mention an additional 2.6 million people who visit their local Planned Parenthood clinic annually for consultation and for their available services just this year, according to their 2013-2014 annual records. She also failed to mention the 1.5 million people who were educated were only the youths through sexual education in their school, funded by Planned Parenthood, and their new chat text program, sourced from their 2013 annual report, where the youth can directly interact with over 20 specialists at times of urgency. This program directly and instantly answers any questions the youth may have, such as STDs, pregnancy and emergency contraceptives, and how to get them. That would lead on to the secondary claim, which is Planned Parenthood can decrease the percentage of teen pregnancy. The speaker's argument briefly touches on Planned Parenthood's potential of preventing teenage unwanted pregnancies. However, the speaker's evidences states the high odds of becoming teen mothers and fathers and the consequences that follows, not mentioning what Planned Parenthood themselves have done. Through the previously stated chat text program, according to a survey from 125,000 teenagers who actually have responded to the survey, said they were more aware of the dangers of unprotected sex than they were before they utilized the program. Because the program was anonymous, which meant their identity and information was private, it helped the teenagers overcome their embarrassment to ask such intimate questions based upon the new study on September 20th, 2015 in the Journal of Medical Internet Research shows that in its first year, Planned Parenthood Federation of America's innovative chat text program was able to reach 32,000 young people. And her third claim was Planned Parenthood can lower the spread of STDs. The speaker's argument makes good points about how STDs negatively affect people and how widespread it is. However, the argument's evidence nowhere mentions what Planned Parenthood has done other than provide the existence of STD screenings and awareness. Of the medical services Planned Parenthood has conducted, 42% of the services were STDs and STIs tests and treatments. About 4.4 million tests and treatments were conducted in their local Planned Parenthood clinics for STD and STIs in the years 2012 to 2014, and an additional 704,000 HIV tests that were conducted in the last year. Of this 4.4 million tests and treatments for STDs and STIs, the patients were also given education on how to further prevent the widespread of these sexually transmitted diseases. To conclude this topic, Planned Parenthood can help prevent the increase of teen pregnancy and lower the spread of STDs, and also provide additional sex education to society. However, they cannot. Planned Parenthood simply cannot be the cause to lower the spread of STD, and can decrease the percentage. They can just educate their patients about it and help them take care of themselves. Thank you.
All right, your speech mostly consists of a critique and advice to the speaker about how they could better prove their argument than the argument that they made, as opposed to a refutation of the argument. Let's do a little bit of a figurative analogy here. If you were a defense attorney, it's as if you stood up after the prosecution presented their case and said, well, how come you didn't use the fingerprints of my client that proved that they were at the scene of the crime? And here's a photograph that shows that my client was shooting the gun at the person who was killed, and you didn't introduce that. In essence, you've basically said Planned Parenthood does a hell of a lot better job than the advocate proved that they did, which doesn't refute the argument at all. It goes the exact opposite direction. You've got good information here. If you were the advocate and making the original argument, you'd probably have a stronger argument that they presented. But this is a refutation assignment, and I think that that's a huge problem. I'm not saying that you have to say the opposite position, but let's go with the weakness of the advocate's argument in the first place. You say that, they claim to reach 1.5 million people, but that leaves out the 2.6 million people that they've also had a beneficial effect on. And, well, why don't you instead look at the 1.5 million people and say, well, that's 1.5 million people out of 340 million Americans, 110 million teenagers, and, it ignores the fact that there are, 1 million teenage pregnancies every year. Doesn't sound like they're doing as good a job as they might be doing. I think that would be a more reasonable inference than saying, well, they actually reached double the number that the advocate said. I just think that you've kind of missed the essence of the argument. All right, thank you.